The Senate is debating immigration reform proposals this week. Republicans have a bill they say President Trump will sign into law if it can pass both chambers. The president tweeting this morning, negotiations on DACA have begun. Republicans want to make a deal, and Democrats say they want to make a deal. Wouldn't it be great if we could finally, after so many years, solve the DACA puzzle? This will be our last chance. There will never be another opportunity. March 5th is the deadline. Joining us now is Republican Senator David Perdue of Georgia. He is a co-sponsor of the Republican immigration proposal. Senator, thanks so much for being here.
Good morning.
Okay, let me put up on the screen what we know to be this senator's idea for this immigration plan, this bill. A pathway to citizenship for 1.8 million immigrants on DACA, the DACA recipients. That obviously comports with the president's vision. $25 billion for border security, including the wall. That's the president's vision. Make it easier to detain and deport certain immigrants. I assume that means the criminals, but you can clarify. Cuts family-based migration, what the White House refers to as chain migration. Ends the diversity and visa lottery. So, is this going to make it through with 60 votes?
Well, Allison, this is a historic opportunity to finally, as you say, fix this broken immigration system on the legal immigration side. That's what we're focusing on. What the president has laid out is a framework that actually both parties have supported all of these tenets at various times in the last 30 years. As a matter of fact, in 1994, Barbara Jordan presented a bipartisan commission report to President Clinton that actually called for some of these very things that we've included in this bill. What I hope we can do is put aside partisan politics here and get to the real issues that 2/3 of Americans want us to solve in the manner the president's laid out today.
Well, yes, but you know, look, polls can obviously be used however you'd like to use them. Here's the latest Quinnipiac poll on funding for the border wall. 65% oppose it of Americans. They don't think that that's a good use of federal money.
Well, there's a Harvard poll out recently, several other polls out that say over 70% actually want more border security. But the most important number I've seen, honestly, Allison, is that 2/3 of Americans at different points in time over the last year. We've been working on this particular idea for over a year. And many people up here have been working for 30 years trying to fix this. But what I'm seeing is that over 2/3 of Americans want to see border security, they want to see DACA fixed, and they want to end this linkage chain migration system, and of course the diversity lottery. Both sides want to end that pernicious program.
So then what's the problem? I mean, why isn't this going to go sailing through Congress?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm not sure it's not going to get bipartisan support. Now, we have both sides, positioning here. There'll be several possibilities this week, but we hope to get a vote on the president's bill today, and I'm really hopeful that we'll see people in both sides of the party come and see the common sense in this approach that most Americans really want us to achieve.
Look, you've heard what Democrats say, which is that the issue of the dreamers, the president says this is really vitally important to him. Many Republicans say that. So why not just make this about the dreamers, how to handle that, what to do for these folks, whether you want to say it's 1.8 or if you want to say 800,000, whatever, settle on a number and just do with that, and don't confuse it with visa lottery and the wall and all sorts of other things.
That's a great question, Allison, and here's the answer. First of all, let's give the president credit. We were first talking a year ago about 690,000 with temporary work permits. That's all we were talking about. The president stepped in and said, look, let's solve the DACA problem once and for all, but let's also eliminate the causes of what brought these children here illegally in the first place, and that is chain migration, an unsecure border, and the other facets of this program that he's laid out will end this once and for all. And that's what most people in America want. They want the DACA solution solved, but they also want to end the things that cause it in the first place.
But when the president says that there's the hard deadline of March 5th in the tweet that I read, that's not accurate.
Well, there are legal issues involved that would cause it to carry past that, of course. And look, nobody wants to create a problem with these children or these young people. That's why the president laid out the proposal that he's laid out. I don't think he's been given enough credit how far he went. Look, this is one that both sides on the extremes are going to look at and say they went too far the other direction. But that tells me that we're pretty close to having a structure that should be done. It's a good compromise, and it should be done.
Okay, I want to talk to you about the budget. You're on the budget committee. Is it time for Republicans to lose the identity of being the fiscally responsible, belt-tightening party?
Allison, this is why I ran for the United States Senate a few years ago. There are no innocent parties right now to our debt. We have $20 trillion of debt going to $21 trillion. Over the last 8 years, 9 years, we borrowed 35% of what we spent as a federal government. We have a budget process that is absolutely broken. The great thing about the funding bill we did last week has a clause in there that creates a select committee to fix this broken budget process. So there are no innocent parties up here.
But listen, let me just put it up for people so that they understand the staggering numbers that we're talking about. $984 billion would be added to the deficit just next year. That's close to $1 trillion, okay? And this is, I mean, if this budget is what ends up happening, that's an 89% increase. That's higher than what the president projected, meaning it's over what he ever projected would be happening. So how can you agree to this?
Well, first of all, we've had 8 years under the prior administration where we added over $10 trillion to the debt.
And you
right
didn't
now,
like that. And listen, I'm just interrupting because Republicans wrung their hands, and I interviewed so many of them during that time where they said, you can't run up the credit card, you wouldn't do it in your own house, and we can't do it in Washington.
Allison, you're exactly right. Those are my words, and I stick by them. And here's what we're trying to do. First of all, there are things you can do to get at this debt crisis over the next 20 years. You're not going to solve this in 10 years. What we've got to do is first grow the economy. The president moved on that last year. Second, you've got to cut out redundant agencies and wasteful spending in the government. Third, you've got to fix this budget process. Fourth, you have to save, not cut, but save Social Security and Medicare, whose trust funds go to zero in 14 years. And lastly, we better get soon after this or stop the revolving costs, increasing costs of our health care, the fundamental costs that are causing health care costs to skyrocket. Those are the things that we're trying to begin focusing on right now.
But how about not spending so much on, say, the military and defense?
Yeah. Well, you tell me what's more important, protecting this country right now. I just think after disinvesting in our military for 8 years, we're at a point of crisis. I called this out when I ran 3 years ago. We have a global security crisis and we have a debt crisis, and we've gotten to the point now, Allison, both sides, we've gotten this country in a position where we're losing the right to do the right things, not only with military spending, but also domestic spending.
Right. So in other words, putting things on the credit card is fine as long as you believe in that cause.
Well, that's not exactly true. What I do believe, though, is that there is investment spending that has to be done in any turnaround. I've been in big turnarounds in my life in the business community, and I can tell you that you have to invest in the things that will provide an economic return, and that's what's being done right now. Look, we've got to secure our borders, we've got to secure our military and rebuild it, but there's also got to be a 20 or 30-year plan to solve this debt crisis. We're not going to be able to print money and borrow money at the rate that we've been doing over the last 15 years.
Senator David Perdue, thank you very much for your perspective.
Thank you.
Chris.
All right, the White